Hey, welcome. My name's Steve,
Hello, and I'm Aaron.
and we're here about to do a constructed review for Kaldheim. This is going to be a standard set review. We've made a top 10 list. So if you prefer EDH, go and have a look at the EDH video that we've also got out on YouTube. But we're about to have a go at a top 10 standard list. And the way we did the lists is Aaron and I each made a separate top 10 list and we combined them. So Aaron's number one was worth 10 points, my number two was worth 9 points, and so on. And then we combined them, and then the 10 cards that made the most points have made the list. So the way the way it worked is the top six in the overall list are on both of our lists, and then the stragglers at the bottom we're just on one of them. So we're just going to go through the cards from 10 down to 1. We're going to say a bit about why we think they're going to have an impact on current standard games, what decks they go in, how you play the card. And if you have cards that you think would make your top 10 that are not on ours, you can feel free to comment and post below as well. Likes and subscribes on Twitch and Facebook and YouTube would all be helpful. But without further ado, we're going to crack on.
Go.
So the first one was on my list and not Aaron's. It is Showdown of the Scalds. It's the Boros Rare Saga, and it has first counter, exile top 4 cards of your library until at the end of your next turn you may play those cards. And then the second and third one is whenever you cast a spell this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control.
Okay, so I can see why you've put this on your list. Maybe this was a card that I just skipped over. But yeah, like drawing 4 for 4 in Boros is great. It's I'll always say that, and I suppose it's potentially you're drawing a card next turn as well, so you're getting 5 cards next turn to play with. If you already have a board presence, this is brilliant.
I think it just gives Boros decks, if Boros decks are going to be a thing, this gives them that late game reach. It reminds me a bit of Hydra Crassus in the Simic ramp deck. That you ramp up and then sometimes you run out of threats, but when you draw your Crassus, you're like, brilliant. Crassus for lots, draw some more cards, I'm back in the game, or I'm ahead in the game, or whatever, and you draw into your action. So if there is a Boros deck here, they'll be able to play somewhere between 2 and 4 of these, and imagine kind of going from this into another one as well. On turn 5 or something, you play this, you draw a land off your 4 cards, you can play that land as well, and you can go into it. So I think it just gives you some late game reach, and if there is a Boros deck, it's because this card helps it stick.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, I suppose the only the issue that I might have with this card maybe is I don't know if you play it in your main deck when you're on the play. If you're on the draw, I could see this definitely being better because then it sort of catches you up with your opponents. And I'd definitely consider sideboarding now if I was going on the play. Just so that on my turn 4, I want to actually try and win on my turn 4 rather than just drawing a bunch of cards.
Yeah,
if I can put an Embercleave down on turn 4 instead of this, I probably would try and do that.
Yeah, that's true. That's eminently possible. I think that's why I'm questioning whether it plays 4 of them. But I think if there is a deck that isn't just mono red and it's playing white, and maybe it's an equipment deck or like a token deck or something like that, I think this just helps you get that last bit of resources you need to win the game. But we'll see. It might not even see play, but if it does, if Boros is a deck, it's because of this card, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
All right, and number 9 was on Aaron's list and not mine. Which is Sigrid, God Favored. It's a 1 and 2 white for a 2/2 Flash Human Warrior. It's a legendary creature, and it has first strike, protection from God creatures, and when Sigrid, God Favors, enters the battlefield, you can exile up to 1 target attacking or blocking creature until Sigrid leaves the battlefield. Aaron, why did you put this on your list?
So I've chose this mostly for historic because of a card called Collected Company, which is an absolute nightmare. Swinging into a collected company in combat already is troublesome. This card is just one of these, another card you want to hit off a Coco. It's easy 2 for 1, sometimes your opponent. In fact, it's got first strike as well, it's really good, so it survives a 2-power creature. So obviously you can exile one of the biggest thing and then block one of the smaller things, and yeah, it's just a straight up 2 for 1. And protection from God creatures as well. There isn't many times, I suppose, with the Pharos gods or I don't know about the Amonkhet gods at the minute, but there isn't many times where they're actually sort of attacking. But if ever they are, you can block it or you can exile it. So I think it just gives a lot of versatility, really, and it can make combat, I think, quite tricky playing around this.
Yeah, I think you're right. Is there a Coco deck in Historic that plays white at the moment? I know
Yeah,
there's
yeah. I've been playing Selesnya Coco.
yeah.
It's like a sort of death and tax or a taxing sort of deck, I guess.
Okay, with Tithe Taker and things like that.
Yeah, and Archon or Vermeria and stuff.
I think so. I didn't consider this because I was doing standard, and I just think that mono red swings into you with this, and you flash this in, attempt to do all good things, and then they just bone crush a giant you.
Yeah, that's fair.
And you don't get to do anything. You don't even get to blink their creature out of combat because the way that the trigger works. If you exile it until it leaves, but it leaves before that resolves, it doesn't even leave the battlefield. So you can't kind of blink it out of combat and stuff. I think it's also got quite good when you're attacking. So some of these creatures, these kind of flash trick creatures, are only really working when you're defending. This will work when you're attacking. So if you attack with your board and they make a double block, this will beat their double block.
Yeah, again, another 2-for-1.
Blink one of their blockers out, and then you can kill the other one when yours lives. So I think there are some things. I think in limited this is very good, but I think in standard I'm struggling to see where this is a home at the moment.
No, that's fair. Yeah, it's mostly, like I said, mostly for historic, I think. Yeah. But yeah, Stomp is a card that is the bane of a lot of creatures at the minute.
Every red deck plays it.
Yeah, I mean it's a 4 of in every red base deck pretty much. Yeah. So maybe when Throne of Eldraine rotates and the standard gets a lot less power.
This is a nice effect. It really is a nice effect, and especially if gods become more prevalent as well.
Yes, definitely.
Standard as well. This might become just even like if they're playing like a green-based deck where they've not got much removal, and they play a green god that you can say, "Oh, I'm just going to play this and block forever."
Yeah, solid card. I like it.
So number 8 was on Aaron's list and not mine, I believe. Is Tibble's Trickery. It's 1 and a red for an instant. It's counter target spell. It has a lot more going for it. It says choose 1, 2, or 3 at random, and its controller of the spell that you're countering mills that many cards, then exiles from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card with a different name than the spell they tried to cast, and they may cast that card without paying its mana cost, and then they put everything they exiled back on the bottom.
Okay, so I think I did have this on the list. I think it was a bit higher up than this, but it is on the list. I mean, it has like impact in other formats, but going on like standard, any like mono red deck that can't deal with a certain kind of enchantment or doesn't have any artifact removal or that creature's toughness is just way too big for any of my burn spells. Okay, I'm going to play this instead and just hope that that works, basically. Mono red having counter spell.
Yeah, I really like this card. I didn't have it on my list because I think that in standard there are in my head it's for a deck like when you're playing mono red and you're playing against Ad Nauseam in modern or Amulet Titan where you just need to be countering their Ad Nauseam or their Primeval Titan. I think in this particular case it might be good for like countering their ultimatum if they're kind of ramping into ultimatums, maybe. But against mono green I wouldn't bring this in, would you?
Probably not.
Because if you try and counter their Cogler and then they just ramp into a Beanstalk Giant or a...
Yeah, I mean, they've got plenty of good hits, I suppose, so yeah.
So I think, in mono green, you're just swapping a big creature for potentially another one. You might get lucky and they might hit a goose.
Yeah.
But in my head, I think it's more the sort of thing you bring up in against like a combo deck or a deck where they're playing towards one card to win the game. So if Omnath was still a thing, potentially, you'd be countering their Omnath.
Especially if their combo is like a non-permanent based combo like Ultimatum, then the fact that they'll just get something a lot worse because it's not part of the combo.
Or Ugin as well, if they're ramping into an Ugin, I think. So I can see this being in every mono red sideboard.
Sure, yeah.
Because there will be some decks where you think if I bring this in and they try to play that Ugin, it gives me a chance still.
It's got so much versatility as well for mono red, basically.
I love the crazy thing. If I would play this, if I could think I could break it, I don't think you can counter stuff. However, I was thinking, if they print another card like Persistent Petitioners, then you can play Persistent Petitioners, this, and Ugin.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
Counter your Persistent Petitioners, and then you mill through your deck until you either get your Ugin or another Tilt's Trickery.
Pretty cool.
So we'll see, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's got some combo potential for sure, and I think that's how the card is broken. Gets broken, rather. Yeah, so, yeah.
And it will see play throughout Magic's history, I think. All the way. I'm not sure it'll see play in Legacy because I think your mana base is good enough that you don't have to play mono red.
Yeah, that's true.
But up to modern, I definitely think modern's probably its biggest home. But yeah. Our number 7 is the last one that was only on one of our lists, and that is a land. It's the World Tree. And the World Tree is a land. It's not legendary, weirdly, and it's enters the battlefield tapped, and you can tap to add a green. However, if you have 6 or more lands, all your lands tap for any colour of mana you want, and then you can pay 10 mana, 2 of each colour, or effectively 10 mana because all your lands are tapping for whatever, to sack it and put any number of god cards onto the battlefield and Sheffield Library.
So it's a pretty cool card. I believe this was on your list.
Yeah, this is quite high on mine, actually. I think the reason I'm a bit higher on this than I might be in other standard formats is I'm not actually looking at that last ability. It's more the Chromatic Lantern ability of the land on a land, so you're not having to kind of warp your deck around Chromatic Lantern and stuff. So I remember when I used to play 5-color Niv Mizzet and stuff, I was sticking Chromatic Lantern there because you needed them. Here you've got it on land, and I think you're doing it to potentially fix your ultimatums. Ultimatums are very stringent in your mana. You want to be casting them on turn 7. There are 5 different ultimatums in standard. I think only like 3 are playable. But this allows you to cast it on turn 7, which is the turn you want to be casting it on, and all these ultimatums are usually base green.
Assuming you haven't ramped as well with like Cultivate or something.
Yeah,
you can cast it even earlier.
Yeah. So, play this on turn 1 tapped, and then on turn 2, it's just a forest. It's just like you've played a tapped forest, okay. Mm-hmm. But then when you get to turn 6, you have all the colours of mana you need, and it's not legendary. And I think if it was legendary, it would not be as good.
Oh, yeah, for sure, yeah.
I think it's really weird that it's not legendary. But because it's not legendary, you play 4 of them.
Wizards don't like making or creating legendary lands for that sole reason of you just don't want to play 4 of them. And it feels bad when you've got one in hand and it just doesn't work when you play it tapped and it just has to get sacrificed. So I can completely understand why Wizards don't make legendary lands very often at all.
Yeah, but when they do, they're really powerful. So like you're thinking like Nykthos is legendary, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Urborg is legendary. So
yeah.
But if standard turns into a lot of 1 and 2 color decks, this just won't see play. But at the moment, when you're playing these bonkers 7 mana ultimatums and potentially other things that come along, I think this is pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like it.
Okay, on to our number 6, I believe now. And every card thereafter came up on both our lists, and now we're just based on the combined ranking. We have Mystic Reflection, which is 1 and a blue. It's an instant, and it says choose target non-legendary creature, and the next time 1 or more creatures or planeswalkers enter the battlefield this turn, they enter as copies of the chosen creature instead. Importantly, you can foretell it for 1.
So I think the reason this card is going to see so much, or not so much standard play, but it definitely will see place in standard in the deck somewhere. It's just because of the versatility on it. The fact that you can target your own stuff, the fact you can target planeswalkers, you can target your opponent's planeswalkers. It has so much going for it, and it's so cheap as well. It seems quite pushed.
Yeah, this is you can't just put it in every blue deck because you need to have creatures out. You need to have a creature that you can copy, and you need your creature to be poorer than the one they're playing if you're countering theirs. But also, if you're copying your own, you need to have a good creature out. So it's going to be restrictive in some of the decks it goes in, but it can also get planeswalkers.
Yeah.
So when they go Luca or Ugin or the new Tyvar card, and then you just make it a copy of a goose instead. And you can foretell it for 1. You can just do this on turn 2. If you've got nothing else to do, just on turn 2, you stick it in there, and then you just hold it 1 blue mana. And then when they're about to play their 8/8 Beanstalk Giant or their Ugin or whatever, you can just say, no, it's going to be one of them instead.
I suppose it's got the you can't target a non-legendary creature, but you're probably not going to want to target a legendary creature, right? Like ever. I can't imagine a scenario where wanting to target a legendary creature is a good thing, because for you, if you wanted to target your legendary creature, then all your creatures enter, and then they all just have to die, right? So,
yeah, but you could target one of theirs, and then you'd kill their creatures for 1 mana.
Oh right, okay, yeah. I suppose
if they have a Coglet out or whatever out that's legendary, you can then say, "Oh, brilliant! I will 1 mana kill your guy
in blue as well."
Yeah, that's pretty good. So I can understand why they've done that. I think the nicest combo that I've seen with this is if you have Terror of the Peaks out and then you play any token generating spell or any creature that comes in with a token or something. when it comes in, it brings a 1/1 goblin token or something. And you've got Terror the Peaks out. You can make all your creatures Terror the Peaks.
But it doesn't work. So if I have like a goblin that comes in that creates a 1/1 token,
actually,
when
that doesn't work, does it? No. But
it's like literally one instance of the stack, isn't it?
Yeah. If you have like Forbidden Friendship or which is make a 1/1 and another 1/1, then if they both come down and hit as Terror the Peaks, I think you hit your opponent for 20. Is that an instant? Because they see each other entering. There's already one on the battlefield, so each terror will trigger twice for the other 2 terrors, and so you hit for 20, I think.
March of the Multitudes in Historic, that'd be cool.
Yeah, but like you say, it's a bit of a workaround. I don't think it'll go in any token deck because you need another good creature. So March of the Multitudes is brilliant. If you've got like a Lord, you can make them all into. Like if you've got like an Elvish Clancaller, and then you march the Multitudes, and you make them all Elvish Clancallers, and then you've got a big, huge board of stuff. So
unless your opponent's got a very good creature, and you're just like, well, I'm just going to upgrade all my tokens to your very good creature.
Yeah, but even just 3/3s, you're making them 3/3s instead of 1/1s.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, solid card. I really, really like this card.
Good, powerful. Number 4 on the this is number 4. This is number 5 on the command list. Is a card I'm actually I should have put it higher in mine. I think this is Goldspan Dragon. It's 3 and 2 red for a dragon creature. It's a 4/4 flying haste, and it has whenever Goldspan Dragon attacks or becomes the target of a spell, create a treasure token. And importantly, while he's on the battlefield, treasure tokens can be sacrificed for 2 mana instead of 1.
Okay, so throughout Magic's history, through Standard, a 5 mana 4/4 flying haste not always, but it definitely somewhere sees Standard play in some form or another. Glorybringer, the
Thunderbreak Regent.
Yeah, I think that was 4 mana, wasn't it? That might have been 4 mana. I can't.
Might be, yeah.
Yeah, that was very good. And there was another one as well from Pharos, original Pharos, I believe. That
Stormbreath Dragon?
Stormbreath, that was it, yep. So, yeah, and I think it has combo potential as well with combat tricks. Like, you attack, and then all of a sudden now you get a 2 mana token, basically. And if you're playing like a load of red combat tricks or something, say draw a card on them, they're instant speed, like +3/+0 first strike, or just something that says draw a card, and then you keep targeting your guy. It creates another treasure, and then you can just sort of combo and put all these combat tricks like eggs into one basket, I guess.
I just even think that you have the +1/+1 and hexproof.
Yeah.
As well, it becomes free. You target your own. They try to kill your guy. You get a treasure. That you get that. Okay, then cast give mine +1/+1 hexproof, and you gain a mana because it costs you one of your treasures for 2 green, and then you've got a green floating. I also think this is a bit similar in combination to Chandra Torch of Defiance and Teferi, Big Teferi, because they both gave you effectively 2 mana when you played them. Chandra, you could plus for 2 red and do something else. Teferi, you could untap 2 lands and hold back and negate. And in this, you've got exactly the same thing. You play this, they either target it and you get your treasure, or you get to attack and you get your treasure. So you nearly always get that 2. I think it's very unlikely. They've got to kind of target it with a non-spell, so like I don't know,
an ability like ECD,
an ability on the creature. They can't do ECD because you've got to attack with it. They've got to do an instant.
Oh right, you mean before you get to...
you attack, and then you've got your negate up, or you've got your Bone Crusher Giant or your Stomp up, and you get to do something with that 2 mana. And if they kill it, well, you've got 4. If you've attacked with it and then they try to kill it, you've got 4 mana as well. I mean, I just think it's super powerful. I don't even think you need to play when we first talked about this. I think we talked about being some sort of treasure deck. I don't even think it needs to be in a treasure deck. I think if it lives a turn or two, you've gained back 4-6 mana.
Cards like this, like I think they have combo potential as well. The fact that it can produce mana on its own, and it has a way to keep producing mana as long as you've got the cards to be able to cast to target it.
I think what you're thinking of is Feather. If you think of Feather with the Redeemed, in a Feather deck, this not only gives you a target to kind of with your Feather and get your stuff and draw your cards, it gives you the mana to cast them all. So effectively, with your Feather deck, you can cast all your cards. You can draw through your deck, and every card you're casting is often drawing you another card.
So yeah,
And then,
I think it's part of an engine, and yeah, it's just a standalone. I think it's fine.
yeah,
It's a solid card.
I think this will see a lot of play.
Mm-hmm.
And number 4 is our first and only Planeswalker on the list. Spoilers. It is a 2. Oh, I've got it the wrong way around. Sorry. I've got Valkyrie, God of Lies, on one side, and Tibble, the Cosmic Imposter, on the other. Valkyrie is 1 and a black for a legendary creature god. It's a 2/1. When he enters the battlefield, for each opponent to reveal their hand, and exile a creature card, reveal this way until Valkyrie leaves the battlefield. And at any point, you can pay X, where X is the creature's cost, and Valkyrie becomes a copy of that creature.
So yeah, solid card. Like I think this side will see a lot more play than the other side, the Tibalt part, because it's a 2 mana, so it's a lot cheaper. It'll, some decks have already won by turn 7, so not even considering casting Tibalt. But if the meta gets creature heavy, this is going to be a solid card to deal with a meta, sort of a creature meta, I think.
Just stealing their 3-drop, stealing their Lovestruck Beast out of their hand or something, or stealing their, Bone Crusher Giant or whatever, so that they can't stomp it, and then they can't then on turn 3 cast a 3-drop. I think that's pretty good. I think also you can steal their Croxer, which is played quite a lot, and then you can attack with Croxer for 2 mana. You make this a 6/6, and then you don't sacrifice it because it's already on the battlefield.
Yep, and they're just losing cards left, right, and center.
Yeah, I think this is powerful, and I think, like you say, if the people haven't got shocks and stuff to get them back, if they're not playing a lot of cheap removal, which at the moment not many people are, other than Bone Crusher Giant, a lot of the removals kind of,
Again, I mean, we could always say like everything dies to Bone Crusher Giant at the minute. Almost every 2-drop in this set dies to Bone Crusher Giant.
I think that's fine. If you trade this to Bone Crusher Giant, that's fine. But the ability, just the fact that if they're killing this, they're not killing something else, or it's just a 2/1. But the potential to nick a Lovestruck Beast or Bone Crusher Giant and make it into a much bigger creature.
At least as well, if like they do Bone Crusher it with their trigger on the stack, you still get to view their hand, and so you're still gaining information for future turns. So that is at very least something.
Kitesail Freebooter was a bit better than this for that ability because it could take any non-land card, and it flew as well, did it?
Yeah, it was 1/2.
Yeah, and it flew. But the fact that this also has a back half, so if you don't get this out early, you can get it out late. It's Tibble, the Cosmic Imposter. Our first ever good Tibble. It's 5 a black and a red that has also a unique thing that when he enters the battlefield, you make an emblem, which is, I think Aaron said, is the first time that's happened. The emblem is you may play cards exiled with Tibble, Cosmic Imposter, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any colour to cast those spells. +2 is exile a top card of each player's library. -3 is exile target artifact or creature, and -8 is exile all cards from all graveyards and add 3 red mana.
So I can see like a Grixis deck maybe coming together to play this, or just like I like this as a control finisher. Really, it's a fun finishing card. This half of it, and like if you do get to the mana, maybe you can play this with like the Goldspan Dragon and ramp into it. That'd be quite cool, I think, if you haven't already won.
Yeah, it gets a card off your library as well as theirs.
Yeah, exactly. And as we mentioned in Commander, it's really good as well.
It's effectively draw 2 cards, but they can't make you discard those cards because they're in exile. You can cast them at any point, even when Tibble's gone. You can use any colour of mana to cast those cards. If you nick one of theirs, you can. It's super powerful if it sticks out for a while. Just drawing like 2 cards a turn, even if they're lands. Because you can play them as well.
It's the fact that you get the emblem, so yeah, even when he's gone, you can still use them.
Yeah.
And if you get like another Tibble out, you can just keep going and exiling more stuff and keep playing stuff. And I think what makes it the best, like the most powerful part of it, is getting the emblem straight away.
You don't have to 0 to get the emblem.
And they basically your minimum, you're getting 2 cards off player's library, no matter what removal they have.
Yeah,
because they can't. You just activate the +2, and then they can interact with it there. But
it's not game ending, but it sticks out 1 turn. Maybe you've just got so much advantage from it that it might as very well be. If you get to plus it twice before they've killed it, You've just drawn 4 cards, and they've had to waste a spell to kill it, so you effectively 4 for 1ing them.
I still think Ugin's better.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Ugin does so much.
This also exiles as well, so a lot of that's quite a nice artifact you can get. You get an artifact, although I'm not sure there's not many artifacts you want to get, but you can get the Great Henge.
Great Henge, yeah.
Yeah, and you can get an Embercleave, although if you're having to do it to get an Embercleave, you might be already dead already. But if you have to, fine. Getting the Great Henge is actually really good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tibble's going to see play, and I think Tibble's going to see play across formats because of the fact you've got a 2-mana side to him.
I think maybe 1 out of 10 times you play the Tibble side of this. It's not very often I think you'll cast it unless you've got a dedicated deck just to get into him.
All these flip cards you can play 4-ofs.
Yeah.
As well, if you want to do it, you can play 4-ofs because you can cast Tibble, it'll die, cast another Tibble, it'll die, and if you draw another one and your Tibble's still alive, you wait and cast it as the Planeswalker side.
But yeah, I'm excited to try this card in Standard for sure.
Our top 3 look pretty close. In 3rd place on our combined list is a white card. It's Righteous Valkyrie for 2 and a white. It's a Angel Cleric. It's a 2/4 flyer, and whenever another Angel or Cleric enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness, and as long as you have at least 7 more life than your starting life total, creatures you control gain +2/+2.
So the Cleric deck is probably maybe tier 4, tier 3. If this is the card that pushes it potentially into tier 1 by easily, this card has got so much text and it's got insane stats for a free drop as well.
It keeps you in the game, gains your life. It gives you a win condition because it pumps the team, pumps the whole team. There's already 2 decks, even maybe 3 decks. There's 2 decks currently going because there is a Heliod life gain deck. There's a Cleric deck. There's Mono White Heliod, and then there's a Cleric deck, and then there will probably be an Angel deck from the new set. There's enough good Angels in the new set in black and white to give you the curve. There's also that Angel Saga. So I think this will see play across multiple archetypes.
Sure. I'm surprised actually it's mono white. I would have thought they'd put a card like this white black, just because then to focus on the Cleric part of it and make it a bit more restrictive. But yeah, this is very powerful, this card. And if the life gain decks do make it, it's because of this card.
I think so, yeah. The
and
fact
yeah,
is
sorry, go on.
Yeah, on turn 4 you can already hit that 7 life.
Mm-hmm.
You can already have hit that 7 life extra, can't you?
So if you're at 27 and you play this card, it's just insane that you just to pump all your guys +2/+2 and have another body on the field.
It's because it pumps itself as well. So it'll be a 4/6 flyer that pumps the team for +2/+2. It's huge, like a super lord.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it incentivizes you. There's not often that many things to really incentivize you to go down the total must gain life route. Mm-hmm. There was the Ajani, there's Heliod, I suppose, is a reason to do it, but now this is a huge reason to do it.
I mean, with I suppose you got in the mono white sort of best of 1 in Standard. It's not really dedicated to Angel or Clerics, but it's got enough life gain that the second half of this ability will definitely be fine enough anyway.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a good card. I will be building the deck for sure.
Me too. This is my first card to build a deck around, I think. Okay, 2 to go. 2 to go, and it was very close in the last 2. Our second place is another white card. It's Doomscar, which is the white Wrath of the set. It's 3 and 2 white for a 5-mana Wrath. Oh, hang on. No, it's a sorcery that destroys all creatures. However, the reason they make this is a better Wrath than any that have been printed in, maybe since Wrath of God itself, is that you can foretell it for 3 mana. You can foretell it for 1 and 2 white.
So yeah, this is a turn 3 Wrath. It's so important. With turn 3 Wrath, with the downside of turning off your turn 2. The other 3-mana Wrath, I think, was printed was Bontu's Last Reckoning, and that basically turned off your turn 4 because it kept all your lands tapped. Your lands didn't untap the next turn. So being able to turn off your turn 2, I think, is huge. Just to play this on turn 3, it's going to stop so many aggro decks. Even on the draw, this is really good. So yeah. Solid card. I mean, you're going to cast this on turn 3 quite a lot, I think.
And I even think that this being in the format will make people play wrong. A bit like Settle the Wreckage. When Settle the Wreckage was in the format, people made bad attacks. thinking that you may or may not have settle. They were, does he have it? Does he not? In this, you even foretell something, and it doesn't have to be this. You see, you foretold. Let's say you foretold a card or two cards on. Well, let's say you foretold a card on turn 2, and they've gone 1 drop, 2 drop, and it's their turn 3. Do they play their Lustruck Beast? Because it's not going to do anything. Do they play their Bone Crusher Giant? Do they play their Old Growth Troll or whatever other 3 drops they're playing into what could potentially be a Wrath? And so maybe they can't, okay, no, I'll wait. I'll hold at my stomp. And you're not playing creatures, so that doesn't really do much. And then you untap and you think, well, you have Doomscar, and you're like, well, there's no point wrathing 2 creatures. I'll just play my Birth of Melita, so I'll play something else. And they've wasted a turn letting you not do that. But if they played their creature, then you wrath. You play the 3 mana, you punish them for doing it. So I think it's going to warp the format, it being in the format, and people playing around it when you have it and playing around it when you haven't got it and all that sort of stuff. And I think it's going to make cards like Annex better. Wrath Protection.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, there was an Angel in this set as well that was also like a Wrath Protection as well.
Glorious
maybe you play in the Cleric deck, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I could totally build a white-blue deck, control deck, playing this, and sometimes I'd probably just take them all out. My opponent thinks that I've got them in there because why wouldn't I? You just make sure you foretell something on turn 2, and that if they do play around it.
And if you're playing in paper as well, you can just have a quick look at the foretell card and no, not yet. Yeah, and they don't know how much you're bluffing, but they know you've definitely foretold something. So yeah, it's just.
There was 2 other cards I put on my list as well. There was the blue ones, the counter spell and the draw 2, which again play really well in the control deck with this because you just foretell on turn 2, and they just have no idea what you're going to do.
Yeah, all the foretellings for 2 mana, you see. So you're foretelling every card that foretells you can do on turn 2, and they just don't know whether you've got this or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's really
great
card. This was actually my number 1, but it was Aaron's number
2
or 3 actually. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and the last one is Vorinclex. I've picked the non-Phyrexian language version so we can read it, but Vorinclex Monstrous Rider is 4 and 2 green for a 6/6 trample haste. It's a Phyrexian Praetor, it's a legendary creature, and it has, if you would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many of each of those kind of those counters on that permanent or player instead. Conversely, if an opponent will put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, they put half that many of those counters on that permanent player, rounded down.
Okay, so this card, so I think it unlocks a few decks already, like any +1/+1 counter. Any deck that you want to build that cares about putting counters on any permanents, super friends, +1/+1 counters, some sort of saga, tribal, maybe anything like that. This is instantly going in that deck. Not only that, it's a 6/6 with trample and haste. So even if you don't have a +1 counter synergy, you can just get this down on turn 5 or turn 6 if you want to ramp into it. And then all of a sudden you're swinging in with a 6/6 trample and haste guy. So I mean, Lovestruck Beast, blocks it, but it's dying, and they're taking a bit of damage for it as well. And then you get a double in season without the token part of it, I guess. And then your opponents get half in season, which turns off all sagas. So your opponent can't play any sagas anymore. They just don't do anything. All their planeswalkers just gets absolutely nerfed. All your planeswalkers are insane. Yeah, this card is just fantastic. It's gonna see a lot of play. I think it's the most expensive card in the set so far. And I suppose that having a Phyrexian version of the card as well is probably one of the reasons why it's expensive as well.
Yeah, I think this is actually going to warp the format because it's going to make certain cards bad against it. So there are going to be some cards, so like you can't Elspeth Conquers Death this, you can't Ugin this, because Ugin will come in with 3 counters, and when you plus Ugin, it'll go to 4, not 5. It'll negate all these other planeswalkers that people can't get to the point where they can minus it. Little Teferi in older formats can't bounce it because Little Teferi will come in with 1 counter or 2 counters. So planeswalker, a lot of them have some sort of way of removing a creature, it's often the negative. This will stop that happening, so you need other answers to it. And if this card sees play, and you can't beat it with the cards you've got because your removal is Ugin and Elspeth Conquers Death, you're going to have to change your deck.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of mono black, sort of like Heartless Act is probably going to be the premier remove spell for this card.
But so if you're building a counters deck, Heartless Act becomes bad. So if your deck revolves around counters, Heartless Act's great against this specific card, but all these other cards that are getting counters on them, Heartless Act doesn't do that much anymore. It doesn't kill them. It just takes the counters off. So
yeah, great card, very powerful.
Yeah, maybe that 4-mana exile a creature or planeswalker instant speed at black.
Bad
well, it might see play if this is the thing you have to be playing. And Murderous Rider's probably going to see a lot more play actually.
Yeah.
I think as a potential answer, but I don't think black's in a dominant position in standard at the moment, is it?
Not particularly. No.
No,
it's probably one of the
green
base colors.
Green and red based at the moment, isn't it?
Standard. Yeah, I suppose. Does this like stop Doom Foretold decks much? Not really. Like that deck doesn't really. It has like ACD, I guess, but other than that, it doesn't really stop that deck much at all.
No, because Doom Foretold's a good answer against this, I think. Eventually.
Although, I've just thought actually this is quite good with that tome book where you put +1.
Maze Mind's tome.
Well, if your opponent has one and you have this out, they just keep scrying forever or drawing cards forever, right?
Do you need to be able to put the counter on to do the ability?
Or is it the cost? Oh, I'm not sure.
I don't know. Well, if it says put a counter on it and do this, then if you can't put a counter on, you can't do the other half.
Oh, I thought.
If it's put a counter on it, then do this, then you can do it.
I suppose they never gain life, but yeah.
Yeah, just a 2-mana. Is it 2-mana draw card? It's not bad, is it?
Or tap it to scry for free.
Yeah, but I don't know. It depends how that's worded, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's also a replicating ring. I don't know if you've seen it or whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to see play, but that's just that's what this card reminded me of, some sort of janky thing. But to be honest, if you're playing this card and it sticks around, there are much more powerful things you can do than that.
Well, like Heliod's Punishment, I think that puts counters, doesn't it? If you start playing Heliod's Punishment, then you can basically just pacifism one of their creatures forever.
Oh, because
it doesn't get counters anymore because Vorinclex isn't letting you put any more counters on it. So I think it has to get 4 counters.
I think it's removing, isn't it? You remove a counter, and when it's got none off, it ends. Okay. Yeah, so it allows you to. Vorinclex doesn't stop you removing them.
And this card's so good. Everything I think of is just like, no, this card stops that.
Yeah, it's so.
At least it's a fair mana cost. It's 6 mana's a lot.
Yeah. And
it's legendary.
It dies to Doomblade, although it's not a Doomblade in standard, but you get the idea. It dies to enough, but the premium ways of killing things at the moment now, it doesn't die to all of them. So it's going to change how people construct their decks. If people are playing 4 of these in their deck, it's going to change how you construct your decks because you have to deal with this. If they untap with this, you don't know what they've got, but if they've got an Ugin, they've won the game. If they've got if they've got something else they can do, to make counters, or any planeswalker, they've possibly won the game. Because if they can ultimate one of these new planeswalkers, they do some pretty bonkers stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Another card that I can't wait to try out, and I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, it's going to be good.
Opening this in pre-release, just a 6/6 trample with haste.
I know, yeah. It's almost like Carnage Tyrant power level, I think.
That was a bit more of a control finisher, I think, than this is.
Yeah, for sure. It was just very anti-control card. This obviously isn't, but it enables a lot more decks than Carnage Tyrant did.
Right. And that is our top 10 for Kaldheim. If you like what we rewarded it, if you think we've put some cards too low or we haven't featured any cards at all, comment below. Let us know what you think. What decks will Vorinclex go into? What's the most bonkers thing you can think of doing with him? As always, like and subscribe. Follow us on YouTube or Twitch or any other way you want to do it.
Links in the comments or in the description, rather.
Yeah, I appreciate all the support you guys give us. We're going to be back. Check out our EDH video as well. We've got a top 10 EDH one where we made 2 separate lists that time. Check that out and give us likes and stuff like that. It's free for you to do, but it helps us out tremendously. So, as always, thanks very much for watching. I've been Steve.
I'm Aaron.
And we'll see you soon.
Bye.